something like 20,000 people come to this conference. It was unbelievable. So, and my first one, Gary Keller, who's the CEO of the company, he's the Keller of Keller Williams, came in and he talked to the coaches. And he said to us, I didn't understand at the time. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I wrote it down. And he said, here's the business. And this answers the question. Here's the business, guys. Don't overcomplicate it. He said, lead generate until you have more than you can handle, and then buy leverage. And I think it's the same thing in any business. When you're starting out as an entrepreneur, you're starting out in a coaching business or a massage therapy, or whatever it might be, build something. You have to do it all. There really isn't any way around it. And there's a really good reason for that, because if I don't do it all myself and I job something out to somebody else who's the expert and I don't know what they're doing and they leave, I'm really screwed. I have to do it myself, so then I can build up enough income so that I can pay somebody the way I want it done. Whatever they're doing, marketing, whatever they're doing, it's a representation of me. So that's the answer. I think you have to figure out what's the first thing that you can delegate out. Website and stuff? No. I could figure it out, but no. I pay somebody to do that. It's so I can spend my time focused on building my skills and work with my clients.
Welcome to Success Leaves Clues, the podcast where we interview business owners on how they built their businesses and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is David Wynn, and I'm a business coach and the founder of Purple Circle, where we help business owners achieve their first 6-figure, 7-figure, and 8-figure year, all without sacrificing their quality of life. Before becoming a business coach and before founding Purple Circle, I started and scaled several 7- and 8-figure coaching businesses, and have been a consultant at several businesses doing over $100 million each, including some that are publicly listed and doing over $1 billion each. In every episode of the podcast, you're going to learn lessons that took our guests years to learn, and you'll be able to learn that in minutes. No matter if you're a new business owner or an established business owner, every episode is going to give you the clues in order to elevate your business.
Welcome to Success Leaves Clues podcast. I'm Pedro, and today I'm joined by George Gillas, who after 20 plus years working with high performers has developed a sharp ability to look past the symptom to what's actually creating the problem, because most performance issues aren't what they appear to be. George uses NLP, cognitive indexes, and direct coaching to pinpoint whether the friction comes from a lack of genuine clarity and unresolved internal conflict, or an execution approach, working against how that person naturally takes action. His philosophy is built on precise diagnosis over motivational pressure, because prescription without diagnosis is exactly how capable people stay stuck, far longer than they should. Welcome to the show, George. George, you're the one to blame. You did all of that. I was here in Brazil when you were working a lot. So that's your own doing. I'm just kidding. Okay, now, George, I am kind of a comic book nerd myself. I love the origin stories, the first edition, right? So I'd love for us to rewind a bit, because every coach has that moment where they look at their life and say, yeah, I guess this is what I'm doing now, right? So when was that for you?
For whatever reason, I was always the kid that people would talk, which hurt me a great deal, because it was usually the girls that were talking to me, and they were talking to me as a friend. So many missed opportunities, but that's a whole other story. I was always the one that people would talk to. And then I got into sales and sales management, and, did a really nice job with that. I moved to Phoenix in 98 to get out of business to business sales, and discovered hypnotherapy and NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and several other things, and started building a practice with that. It just felt like a natural groove. And somewhere along the line, or this is a long answer, I guess, but maybe it'll be helpful for the listeners. Somewhere along the line in 97 or something, I read a book. I don't remember who it was. Man, I wish I could remember. I don't remember who it was. But the author said, complete the following sentence: my purpose in life is, and that was it. And then the author also wrote, if you can answer this 30 minutes or less, you've either been thinking about it for a long time, or you're lying to me. I thought, well, I'm in a crossroads in my life. So I picked up that gauntlet and I started writing my mission statement, my purpose. And what I came up with was, I believe that my purpose in life is to inspire other people to achieve their goal. That's where I've always felt the sweet spot. That's the stuff that's always coming out. I don't get jealous if I help somebody make 3, 4, 5 times what I'm making. I see that success. And then my private practice led into coaching with Keller Williams Realty, and then many private clients along the way. And that's the fuel. It's all about helping other people to achieve their goals, and being honored and humbled to actually be trusted and part of that process, part of that journey. I've never found anything so rewarding doing now.
Mm,
Cool.
interesting. I love there's a key word I'm going to pick up on that, which is journey, right? And I want to understand a little bit about that journey. When did it shift from, in coaching specifically, from I'm helping people, this is sort of a calling, to, you know what? I'm building a real business around this. This is actually a coaching business. So my question to you, was it like the first invoice? Was it like the first paying customer? When you realized, man, this is something else. This is different.
I think that I've put together. I've been sitting across from high for 20 plus years, and notice was that there always seems to be a point where they identify where they're stuck. And after 20 plus years doing this, I've just, there's a pattern. And the pattern was so obvious, it almost surprised me, almost. But it seems to be how they think, feel, and act are out of alignment. And so that's a hard question to answer, man.
Let me introduce
thanks
the
for
reason.
starting it that way.
I'm gonna introduce the reason I asked this. Okay,
Yeah, go.
to give my context, my point of view. It's like this. I worked in corporate. I worked in banking. I worked in a consulting firm here in Brazil called Ernst and Young, right? And I was used to tell people what I was doing, right? What do you do for a living? And I was in a birthday, whatever, or get into a taxi, and I'm like X, Y, and Z. Oh, I do that. Eventually, I turned out to be a coach, right? And I noticed a shift in my identity. Whenever someone asked me, I was, wait a minute, what do I do really? I felt weird at the start, and then I start owning it, right? No, I do this. I am coach. I do that. So my question to you is more like the mindset behind it when you realize you actually put the hat on, right? Like, this is game on. I'm doing this. There a moment in time, was it? It could be more organically or natural. It's just the way
The private, I would work with clients for a set period of time. We'd have a defined problem and a defined outcome. And I would work with them usually somewhere between 8 to 16 hours total time. But they would get results. They'd send me referrals. I've always lived on referrals. When I joined Keller Williams as a coach for realty, now all of a sudden it was long engagements, 30-minute sessions once a week. It took me a year to figure that out, at least. A year to switch from therapeutic sessions to coaching sessions, an entirely different mindset. And somewhere along the line, probably after the first year, I can't identify when, but it clicked. It's like, okay, I get what coaching is now. I actually went for an interview for a coaching company, and I blew the interview because I didn't understand what coaching was. Why would anybody do that? I could fix this problem in 10 hours. I didn't get it, you know? But now I've got clients that have been with me for 6 years since I started, 6.5 years. And just to watch the transformation in their lives and to be part of that and to be the guy that they will talk to, they'll tell me things that they don't tell anybody else. And I respect that. I hold that. That's a very sacred thing, to have that kind of trust with another person. So there wasn't a particular time, but I think in my head, in my heart, I've always owned it. This is what I'm meant to do. This is here it is. My purpose is to inspire other people to achieve their goals. I did it with the business world. I did it with several different companies. I did it with massage therapy. I did it with hypnotherapy. I did it in private practice. This is the most finely tuned answer to that need, to that purpose. That coaching is the most pinpointed way that I can achieve that purpose in my life. For that, I hadn't put that together before. Yeah.
Why is that so? Why is that the ultimate tool?
It's the ultimate so far. If it's the final. See, here's the okay. They started my sales career at 19 years old selling Cutco knives in home. Then when I moved into management was to help my salespeople make money, help them be successful. So it's always been there, but it's been tuned, direct application of what the vehicle is to fulfill my so far. And I'm not so naive to say that this is the final one. It could morph and grow into something else. I don't know. But my thing is, once you're clear on your purpose, if you get clear on your purpose, whatever vehicle you might be on, if it's fulfilling that purpose, you're in the right place. If it's not, you should be finding something else. And that, by the way, is what a lot of the work with my clients.
I like that.
They took a job money, but they're frustrated. They're feeling like they're wasting their time. They're not fulfilled.
If you're tuned in with intention, with purpose, coaching is just a mechanism, right? It's the way to get there, means to an end. It's like thinking about money. Sometimes people are like so driven by it, but money is just an exchange, right? Sometimes it's energy and a commitment, but it's not the final destination. You got to do something with it, right? Nice. Okay. Now, I want to understand one thing. because you made a shift to coaching, right? And you mentioned Keller Williams, right? The real estate company. But you mentioned also private clients. So after you got actually into coaching, who are the people that kept showing up? The ones you realized, "Oh, this is my tribe."
Been my world since I was 19 years old. They could be upper level management, okay? People that are thinking more about career than they are about. I've had many clients who had a job and knew that they were meant for something big to get there, didn't trust themselves enough to take the step, to step out of what they were doing and step into something new. It's fun for me. So the common thread of all my clients is that they're motivated to make a change. Might not they're heading towards, but they know they want to change where they are, either mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever.
Now let's pretend I'm one of those guys, right? I'm a high performer, upper level management. I'm your ideal client profile in this scenario. So let's start from the beginning. I'm that guy. So first of all, how would I be able to find you marketing wise?
LinkedIn, Facebook, my name to Google, and there's pages on me because I've been doing it for a while. That's the best thing. The website explains a lot. Okay. The next step would be a conversation that I would have with you, ideally by Zoom, because I like to see the people that I'm talking to. And I've had clients all over the world. This is amazing. It's amazing, man. Where we are right now. Here I am in Phoenix, here in Brazil, and we're talking to each other. We're next door neighbors. So I've had clients literally all around the world. So the first step would be a Zoom conversation. And I want to find out the person for the client, for you, and if you're the right client for me. And that doesn't take too long. We know it's gonna mix well. And then after that, then would be the diagnosis of a proprietary intake form and questionnaire that's going to help diagnose what's going on with you, so we can put together a game plan.
Okay, interesting. I have a couple questions. The first one, because I'm still that guy in the scenario, but I want two scenarios here. First guy who shows up is Pedro. Okay, he's your ICP still. But you mentioned something interesting. You mentioned not the word, but it has to be alignment, right? It has to be coachable. So can you walk me through an example of someone who wouldn't be coachable, or someone that you feel like not really a great fit?
Is so defensive. They're stuck in their own "I'll be nice" stuff. I've had clients that have come to me, my intake. Why? First question. People say, because my boyfriend, my girlfriend, my husband, my wife said I need to be here. And I will say, let me rephrase. Why are you here? And 4 or 5 times. But if they can't say I'm here because I have a problem, they're not my client. A pill and you'll feel better. This coaching is a do with, not a do to process. It's do with. I've got to partner with you. And if they're not willing to do the work, not going to happen.
Okay.
I can tell you, just this past week, I had a guy, I based him a little bit. All right. Sometimes as a coach, you got to reach out and smack them.
I like it.
And what I told him was, I asked him, I said, is it okay if I take off my coaching hat and tell you what I'm thinking about? He said, yeah, I have enough rapport with the guy. I looked at him and said, you got to get blanking mad. You got to get pissed off. Every time I talk to you, you have no affect. You have emotion and you expect things to change, but you're not investing. So when we hang up on this call, there's 167 hours and 30 minutes before I talk to you again. I can't be there. I can't do this for you. It's not a do to process. And this is the part that got him. This is the line that got him. I've used this for years. I told him, I said, I am too to be your next failure. I'm too competitive to be your next failure. So you got to pick it up or this isn't going to work.
I like it.
I got him for 30 minutes or an hour. It was 168 hours to do. And if you're not what you're going to do, not what I told you to do, what you said you're going to do, then there's not much anybody can do.
Okay. I like that. Now, keeping up with my scenario here. Now, this guy, this is Pedro number 2. He actually, the good Pedro, the good twin brother, right? I don't have a twin brother, but imagine if there's a good and a bad one. This is the good one. The other one, not really. And this Pedro, he does have accountability for himself. He knows why he's there. There's alignment. So, can you walk me through how does it look like to work with you and potential outcomes good Pedro can expect out of it?
In your actions. Is it clarity, conviction, or execution? And that'll give me a pretty good idea. So Then there's also two assessments that I do that you mentioned, which is the Colby Index is an index that measures what your natural striving instincts are. How does Pedro do things when you're given the freedom to be yourself? Instincts don't change. There's a whole science behind it. It's 50 years on the market. Solid stuff. There's A index, which is how do you see yourself, and then there's a B index, how do you see your role? How do you see your job? A lot of times those two things are so divergent, that's the diagnosis. So now we figure out how do we change the job so that it fits you? If this job is so far off of how you're naturally wired, why are you here? So it really depends on what we get from the assessments and from the intake where we're going to go. Again, that's without diagnosis part. I start every meeting with somebody with a blank piece of paper. That's it. I don't plan what the next call is going to be. I have no idea where it's going to go. And the intake will have certain questions, but it's like this. It's free flowing. So assuming that we figure out what that diagnosis is, the next question is, what do you want? Not me. It's you. Okay. What do you want as an outcome? Out of your comfort. Because if you're going to change things, it's going to be uncomfortable for a period of time. Right? Are you willing to do that? And if your commitment level is high, then we're going to go to work.
Okay. It does answer it. I'm thinking of giving you a little bit of a hard time here. This Pedro,
right. I like hard times. Good.
Yeah, this Pedro, he's all right, okay? He's still the good Pedro, okay? But he's kind of, you know what? I joined you, George, and I wanted to, I don't know, outcome X, Y, and Z, increase profit, increase whatever, bottom line specific, revenue, income, you name it. Right? And you sent me some assessments. I did one, and I'm like, I thought I was going for more profit. Why am I filling out this stuff? I'm starting to question the process, right? I'm still a good guy, right? But deep down, you're sensing I'm not full on board. Okay. So how do you navigate those type of clients? And I'm going to ask you this because there are a lot of people out there, I know coaches listening can resonate with, that they romanticize the fact that they are doing something. But in reality, sometimes they don't put in the work. So how do you navigate? Good Pedro give you a little bit of trouble.
I would ask them, if you've gone to a doctor and they said you need 3 tests, 3 exams, and you're only going to take one and expect to get cured.
I like the analogy. I'm going to steal that.
Feel free. Here's the thing that I learned from coaching. They ask questions, so what I would want to say is, well, you did, but if I take that, respond if you went to a doctor and he said, you need these 4 tests and you only took 1, what would you expect your doctor to say? It's the same thing, only now now you got to defend your position for not doing what you said you were going to do. Be another chance, okay? But if you're not going to do it, we're not going to work well together. It's just not going to. Old adage that says that when somebody is an employee, the best day on the job is the day they interview. So if now you've got the job as my client, but you're not performing, you're not doing what you said on the interview, we need to. Otherwise, it's not a do-to process. I can't tell you how many times I come back to clients with that. It's do with. We're going to meet. Got 167 hours to do something about it. What are you doing? Just put it back on that.
Right. Do you really want to get healthy? It's like the doctor, that analogy. It's like, right?
In my time.
Right.
And I'm too competitive to be your next failure. So if you want to win, this is what we got to do.
I love that. I love that sentence. Right.
That's the that I have. And I've had some clients that didn't work for. Fine, go work with somebody else. I don't care. I want my clients to win.
Okay. Now, George, I'm going to throw you a small curveball. I promise it's okay. Really tiny. There are a lot of coaches out there, George, that are advocating against burnout, right? As you already know that. And in reality, sometimes they're burning out themselves, right? Because they're wearing all the hats. They're the marketer, the sales guy. They're delivering the coaching itself, the practice, right? The operations. So there's a lot of business development, unbillable hours, right? So how do you think about capacity so you don't stretch yourself too thin and burn yourself in the process?
Something like 20,000 people come to this conference. It was unbelievable. So, and my first one, Gary Keller, who's the CEO of the company, he's the Keller of Keller Williams, came in and he talked to the coaches. And he said to us, I didn't understand at the time. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I wrote it down. And he said, here's the business. And this answers the question. Here's the business, guys. Don't overcomplicate it. He said, lead generate until you have more than you can handle, and then buy leverage. And I think it's the same thing in any business. When you're starting out as an entrepreneur, you're starting out in a coaching business or a massage therapy, or whatever it might be, build something, you have to do it all. There really isn't any way around it. And there's a really good reason for that. Because if I don't do it all myself and I job something out to somebody else who's the expert and I don't know what they're doing and they leave, I'm really screwed. So I have to do it myself so then I can build up enough income so that I can pay somebody the way I want it done. Whatever they're doing, marketing, whatever they're doing, it's a representation of me. So that's the answer. I think you have to figure out that what's the first thing that you can delegate out? Website and stuff? No. I could figure it out, but no. I pay somebody to do that. It's so I can spend my time focused on building my skills and work with my clients.
But I like the fact that you brought something that is very important. It's just not by outsource. You got to have a little bit of idea, grasp on what's going on. Even for the fact, even if you're not the one delivering, at least you have some idea on how to measure it and to evaluate someone else's work, because it's not just close your eyes and send them the money. So really important reminder. Now, I want to shift gears for a second. George, no curveballs. I promise, man. Let's just chill. I want to talk about future. What's next? So looking ahead, where do you see the business going, George? Are you thinking about scaling, hiring? Or is there a next step you're excited about?
Is that I think we had this in our first conversation. A lot of coaches will coach to the part of people's lives, how they're thinking, okay, their skills, their knowledge, their experience. Some will coach to their thinking and the client's emotions. And a lot of the people that are coaching to emotions haven't had the skill base and the training to really work cleanly and with the subconscious mind. I've been doing for years as a master practitioner. Third part of this is the cognitive at the beginning, which is what is your natural striving instincts when you're looking to do something, when you're looking to achieve. And that is also what I'm certified in for, like 15 years. So my program really isn't new, but it's the first time that I've taken everything it wasn't a program, it wasn't a name looking for something to do. It was all these things combined, and that came. TriGruent is the name because there's three parts: head, heart, and gut. Cognitive, thinking mind, feeling mind, and doing. So the next step really is getting that thing up and running. I imagine that where I see it going after that, I think this could make some really neat keynote speeches, keynote addresses, because people are unaware that this cognitive part, the driving instincts, it really has an impact on how they do things and where they end up. I could see it going into a book very, very easily. So that I'm not the guy who thinks 5 years out. What's the next step? Because if I'm thinking 5 years out, I might ignore what I have to do to get there. So my next step is really getting this program up and running. Right now, it's basically set as a 12-week program with a hard start and a hard stop. And I imagine very easily that a lot of people that work with me, and as a matter of fact, I have a couple already that I've signed on for long-term coaching. Okay, because now I'm in the transition between a program and coaching. I get it. The 12 weeks can, for lack of a better word, the problem, right? To get them up to balance where the heart and the gut are all aligned. Now there's coaching implementation of what happened, because life happens, stuff happens, and having a trusted advisor and a coach in your corner helps you move the ball forward. So that's the next step. What comes after that?
We'll see.
Open.
Okay.
I'm
Let me ask you this: a TriGruent program, right? You mentioned, is it more in line, just to understand structure wise? Is this like one-on-one, one-to-many? There's an online component. Okay.
For now, many until the one-to-one, right? That makes sense. Now, there's nothing new. There's nothing new in anything in this program. I've been doing it piecemeal for 20 plus years. Putting it together in the way I've packaged it now is different. Now it's a specific package. That's why it's up front. That's going to tell us where we go next. The first month, there's going to be 2 90-minute sessions. Really dive deep on whatever it is. Is the cognitive, whatever aspect, okay? Is it clarity, conviction, or execution? We're going to dive deep. Then there's 2 more 60-minute sessions after that, just in the first month, which is pretty intensive coaching. And then 2 months of two 1-hour sessions just to really get the momentum going. And then if and people want to join in and go with full-time coaching after that, then we'll talk about a program, which will right now it's 1-hour sessions a month.
Nice. And George, whenever we're aiming towards the next chapter, something new, right? Always something we're refining. So what are you currently trying to improve or tighten up in your business right now?
I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not good at. I'm good at coaching. I'm good at what I do. I'm not good at marketing, which is that's why I have help, right? Look to other people who I trust, people that I've known for years. I trust these couple people to help me with them. So that right now, that's the biggest challenge is that part. I've got a list of about 55 people who I know and trust really well that I'm going to be contacting some later today and early next week over the next couple of weeks to get, sort of beta testing some of these ideas with them. I already have a couple clients in the program, but I want to get more feedback. Feedback will help direct me. All right, how do I market this? Let me understand what the market is looking for before I spend a whole lot of money throwing.
I like the fact that you're so you care so much about the reps, right? It sounds like you really like to test things, to see it through, feel it, to understand in the trenches. How does it look like? Having that taste to say, okay, this is something. It's not just from a place of, oh, I know people will love it. I'm going to throw it out there. No, I'm going to test it, right? Because at the end of the day, if people don't see value, that's something we need to adjust, right? Simple as that, right?
Yeah. I spent a good amount of money on a program that I thought, this is good, man. People are going, yeah,
Not
got
really.
almost
Okay.
nothing. So yeah, and sometimes you get the harsh reminder of that the market is the market. You have to understand what the market wants. It's the same thing I coach my real estate agents for. It's like the market is changing. Are you aware of the fears and the trepidations and the hesitation that your clients, your prospects have? Or are you trying to sell a house? It's a big difference.
Mm.
You got to understand how does the market see you, and what are their problems? Are you targeting that? That's huge.
The root cause, right? The intention
Yeah.
behind, the purpose behind, not just put that. I got that in sales, right? I was a high ticket sales closer for a business coach, and whenever I stopped caring about the outcome of the sale, it was everything clicked, right? When I was just like in the flow, I'm here to serve, I'm here to understand, right? I'm not here to push my agenda towards people. So that's when things really click, because whenever you have such an outcome driven mentality, you sound needy. You may not realize, but you have that energy of, I need to do the thing, right? It's like those girls who go out on the clubs and they're like trying to find a husband. Just go in and meet people. Just go and have fun instead of having that agenda. That's super. And that people pick up on that. Right? If you're trying to sell someone a house, you gave that example in real estate, but like, hey, what is this guy doing? Right? He just want me to sign here and sayonara, right? Mission.
Wasn't planning on going here, but this is where AI can really be helpful. So do you want me to share what I did to help with understanding the market?
Absolutely.
All right, this was kind of fun because I'm not a techie guy, but if you're not using AI, you're going to be, this is what I tell realtors, and I think it's really true with coaches. So yeah, I'm confident in saying this. Not going to replace coaching because there's too much of a human element. However, thoroughly believe the coaches that are not using AI are going to leave behind the coaches who aren't. The coaches who are using AI are going to leave behind that are not. So here's what I did. I went to ChatGPT and I said, all right, ChatGPT, help me put together this program, take some of the thinking that I had and put it into words, and back and forth, massaging it. And I went to ChatGPT and said, all right, you know my program. You know who the market is. You know who the audience is. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to find out what they're looking for, what their problems are searching for, and more importantly, where are they going to find the answers? Where are they going to search this stuff? So Chat goes in and takes my profile, my program, comes up with a list of websites that I never even heard of. And you probably noticed Reddit subgroups. What that is, not my world, right? That's marketing. This is market research. So now list. I go to another AI that I learned about, .so. Twin, basically you could clone a marketing person that's AI. And I said, all right, Twin, here's what I do. I want you to, here's here's the program, here's the audience, here's all this stuff. List that I got from ChatGPT. I want you to scan these websites once a month and give me the top 5 things that people are looking for, what their problems are, what their questions are, what their concerns are. And I got like an 11-page. We took that, went back to Chat. Well, actually, now I'm using Claude. All right, help me write some posts for LinkedIn. Help give me some ideas for 30 to 60-second video scripts that I could do. And I'm going to take all those so they sound more like me. But it was Chat to do the research, Claude to skim these websites and give me a report once a month on what's top of mind for my, and then back to Claude to write out some scripts. Now, if I was paying a human to do that, and how current would the information be? So here it's just, because there's a realtor that's doing that. She gets a report on exactly what's happening in her every Monday morning at 7 o'clock. Marketing towards exactly what is happening in her market every week. Twin puts a report in her email at 7 a.m. on Monday. We're in a new world, man. If you're not using it,
it's pretty insane, right? And I've seen, one thing that I've seen people using with success is like taking transcripts from your calls. So you can add that to Claude feature you mentioned. So that will pick up on your voice or your style, not just the way you write, but the way you talk, because your post will look like you and can kind of have the way you talk, right? So it will resonate with you. But anyhow, that's pretty interesting. And I really like you sharing that. Now, if someone listening wants to connect with you or follow your work, and I know you want to talk about something special here for us, right? But what's the best way for people to find you and connect with you? And by the way, we're going to have all the links in the description, but please enlighten us.
Or an email. I'm happy to talk to anybody. Send me an email at georgegillas.com. That would be direct to me. Okay, but georgegillas.com has lots of information. georgegillas.com also has a short, free Where You're Stuck, which is just a real quick thing. And from that, there's a nice 45-minute one-on-one that we can do if you're.
Okay. You know, George, there were a few moments from this chat today that really, I feel the need to highlight them, put it simply like that. Okay. When we were talking about your origin story and you were telling me that your goal is to achieve their goals and you're honored and you're humbled even to the experience to be part of the journey. Right? That shows a lot of your character, right? And your integrity. It's like the coaching is one thing that you're using now, but real intention, real purpose comes from helping people, right? At the end of the day, it's pretty simple. So awesome to look at that live, right? Exactly. Also, when we were talking about the sales process and good and bad Pedro, right? And I threw you some curveballs. I really like the way you level the playing field, setting up boundaries, things that you're not going to take, you're not going to accept from a client. Because I know coaches out there, sometimes they're hitting that scarcity mindset. They just want to pay their bills. And sometimes they put up with stuff they shouldn't in the first place for a reason. And I understand the reason. I want to be real here. I'm a coach myself. So that being said, at the same time, I understand what a bad client can do to you when you look at your calendar and you're like, oh my God, this guy. Because exactly. And last but not least, I thought the reminder to not just outsource stuff to the expert, but really live a little bit on that field to understand the ins and outs, right? Because I've seen coaches burning themselves out because they didn't know how to measure someone else's work, even if we're cold calls. Yeah. Have you ever done cold calls, bro? Have you ever tried to do X, Y, and Z? And so most of the time they didn't. They're just trying to outsource to an expert, which is totally fine. But you got to have at least some skin in the game to understand what we're talking about here, the common objections, how draining it can be at a certain task. So that's a very powerful reminder too. Now, this is just my long-winded way of saying, right, George? I appreciate what you do and I appreciate you being here and sharing so openly today. It was great having you on.
That's it for this episode. This episode, as well as this podcast, was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help business owners elevate their business to 6, 7, and 8-figure years, all without burning out. If you're looking to grow your business, as well as get the time freedom that you are looking for, visit us at joinpurplecircle.com and see what we can do to help you and your business.